There was something about how Detective Glass mixed his water that gave Garret pause. After hanging out with Ace and Woolite, his mind was more open to possibilities than it had been before. "What was that?" Garret asked the detective. "It's not important," said Glass. The moment he spoke, the pull of his words came off like gospel, as if he were reverent, as if he were Obama giving his hope and change speech. Garret normally wouldn't have questioned any of it and just assumed some random working-class Joe had risen up to be put on the level of a Hollywood actor. His suspicion made him question that subtle command of not worrying about it. Garret reached down and picked up the television remote that was on the coffee table. "I think we need to get a lawyer," Garret said. He didn't wait for a proper response because he couldn't risk it swaying his emotions. He grabbed Keyshawn by the hand and pulled her to the front hallway. The two police detectives instantly suspected something was off and attempted to follow them. Detective Glass tried to yell something over the loud, obtrusive television that was screaming out an Ozempic ad. When the detectives didn't let Garret move away, Garret mirrored their intensity. He all but pushed Keyshawn along. The moment the two detectives took a step, he slammed his front door, then made a break for Keyshawn's Toyota Tacoma in the driveway. "What the f*** are you doing?" Keyshawn said with fear and anger. "Baby, you're gonna have to trust me." Keyshawn nodded as if she instantly understood. She was his ride or die, which was the reason he'd always come back for her. The detectives kicked in their front door and they were already getting into the car when they did. The lawman drew down on the two unarmed civilians and began shooting at the car as if they were in the last scene of Bonnie and Clyde. The back window shattered. "They're not supposed to be shooting at us," said Keyshawn, who looked back. She saw Detective Glass and Moogle firing from the street. When Keyshawn looked down, her shirt was covered in blood. There was a hole in her chest. Cars methodically rounded the Olympian Fields racetrack in the Serendipitous Fate District. It had all the patina of a modern-day racetrack with the addition of the glitz and spectacle of Furlong's second city. There was a dome overhead that was closed and an oval sphere that displayed a starry night on Jupiter. All the track's guardrails were draped in neon, and there were television sets that popped up every 5 to 10 seats, as if to cater to a child's attention span. Woolite sat in the mostly empty track with his feet up and his head laid back, stretched out into another row. The statistics for betting on the race scrolled on a monitor, updating in real time, while the other half was a commercial for maxi pads. "You should have put a bullet in him. I'm just gonna say it once, 'cause I thought I taught you better," said Woolite with his sunglasses on and eyes still closed. Ace clicked his teeth, an affectation that he gained from Woolite in the time they worked together. "So what if we let him go? He doesn't know anything. He'll go back to being asleep in a best case and get killed by them in a worst case," said Ace, standing and impatiently watching the races that seemed to go on non-stop. There was something therapeutic about seeing those cars passing around the track, almost zen, if you let it be. But Ace was not particularly in a mood for enlightenment. Sometimes Woolite's lack of transparency was infuriating. The old man was so set in his ways that he knew he was right and didn't need or want to hear any counterpoint that conflicted with his assessment of the facts. Ace couldn't knock it because his cold logic, lack of emotional baggage, and intuition had gotten him much further than most that had ever claimed to do this job. "If you're going to say something, at least explain your wackadoo bullshit, old man. How's he going to hurt us?" Woolite acknowledged his partner, but he spoke with his eyes still closed. "I don't know how he hurts us. You just don't leave stains. Don't seem right to wash a shirt and leave one stain in it. Now do it." Ace shook his head, understanding the logic, but not accepting the callous way he regarded life. After a few breaths breezed by, Ace spoke again. "So what are we doing here, old man?" "Just watching the races, waiting for inspiration to strike," said Woolite. "Hold on, babe, I got you, said Garret with frantic energy. One hand on the wheel, the other pressed up against Keyshawn's upper chest near the collarbone. She was his everything, and he couldn't lose her lest he lose a piece of himself, perhaps the best piece of himself. Keyshawn gasped for air like a fish out of water. Hold on, Garret said like a mantra. The red and blue of police sirens gathered like collecting raindrops. He saw the gathering storm, but he ignored it. As far as he was concerned, he could burn everything down in his life so long as she lived. The police attempted to box him in, but he couldn't stop. He was 2 blocks from the nearest hospital, and he would face anything he had to face to keep her alive. When he pulled into Ballister LaCroix Memorial, he darted to the passenger seat and pulled Keyshawn out of the car. If he were a black man, he wasn't exactly sure how fast he would have been allowed to move without being shot or tackled. To his surprise, when the police saw him in such dire straits, they cleared a path for him. They didn't even ask him why he had led them on a chase. When they got to the front desk, the nurse mobilized. When there was a moment in between desperate gasps, one of the policemen asked Garret a question. What happened here? He asked with the same gravity that the situation dictated. Garret hadn't even thought to lie, but even clinging to life, Keyshawn did. She had the presence of mind to protect her man, even as she clung on to life by a thread. I got shot by a home invader, and this man saw me on the street and drove me here, she muttered through desperate, wheezy lungs. Orderlies wheeled the gurney out and ripped Keyshawn from Garret's arms. Garret wanted to confess his undying love, to tell her he wouldn't leave her side no matter what happened, but she knew better. As Keyshawn was wheeled away, she spoke to Garret with a level of distant gratitude reserved for a stranger. Thank you, sir. Get home. Her words trailed off as if she couldn't hold on to her thoughts well enough to sort them out. Garret watched as his love was wheeled away, and he knew that one way or the other, this was the last time. He weakly waved to her, though she was too lost in between life and death to hear the mortal world. The gathered policeman asked to get his statement and name. He asked to use the bathroom to clean himself up. The moment the police took their eyes off of him, he slipped away. He remembered what Ace said, and a part of him wished he would have listened to him, and another part of him wanted to kill every vampire that ever existed. He knew now that there was literally no way back but through. There was only rage in his heart now, no fear, or love, or doubt. There was only fire in his belly strong enough to breathe on the world and burn it down.